as we discuss the affairs, matters of our students and educators to make effective and appropriate decisions for Richland District 1. May we use our best judgment to make sure we are moving our students and educators towards upward and positive progress, using science and medicine to guide us towards sensible and responsible solutions to protect all of our students and staff. And may we remain strong and steadfast to what we know as commissioners to be honest and truthful, and what we know has real life consequences. Guide us in faith and works. We pray. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. Thank you so very much, Commissioner Clyburn, for providing our invocation. Also, thank you for what you do in Richland School District 1. At this time, we will call for the adoption of the agenda.
Move for approval, Madam Chair.
Second.
It's been moved by Commissioner Devine and it's been seconded by Commissioner Bishop. We'll open the floor for any question or discussion. Seeing none, hearing none, we will call for the vote. I'm having technical difficulties, so I'll just manually. Okay, the vote is unanimous to approve the agenda's adoption on tonight. Let the record also reflect that Ms. King is not present for tonight's meeting in our minutes. We'll now move to 6.3, which is the public participation. And before we get to that part, we do have a statement that we wish to read. The public is cordially invited to attend board meetings to become better acquainted with the operation and programs of the school district. The board conducts meetings for the purpose of carrying on the official business of the school district. The meetings are not public hearings, but are meetings held in public. Public participation will be permitted only as indicated on the agenda and at the discretion of the board. In order that the board may conduct the meeting in a civil and professional manner, comments from the public should not include gossip, defamatory words, or abusive and vulgar language. The board reserves the right to terminate any presentation which does not adhere to the guidelines set forth in this policy. Orderly conduct of the meeting does not permit spontaneous discussion from the audience. All persons who wish to participate must do so through our established procedures, which is to sign up. These procedures are designed to encourage participation and to ensure that an orderly management of the meetings. The board is committed to compliance with the South Carolina Freedom of Information Act, as well as all other federal and state laws which regulate or affect board actions and policies. The chair reserves the right to limit discussion of same topic issues in an effort to provide individuals the opportunity to be heard on a variety of topics. So I wanted to mention that Mr. Devine is our parliamentarian. You are allowed 3 minutes to speak. We do have an area over here that is designated for public participation. At the last 30 seconds of your comments, the parliamentarian will cue you to begin to wrap up your comments so that we can allow all of those that have signed up to speak and that we can then continue the business of the district. So on tonight as we begin, and let me also mention, you will not hear a response from the board on tonight. We will respond to you in 7 to 10 business days. Let me also mention as we begin public participation that after, I believe it's going to be about mid-April, I know that some of you have signed up about the mask policy. Dr. Witherspoon will be reviewing and will be coming forth with a recommendation by mid-April as it relates to the mask policy in the district. And again, we are asking that he continues to follow the science as well as CDC guidelines and to bring forth that recommendation to us around mid-April, sometime after our children return back from spring break. So we will begin with Blair Wessinger. You will come to the mic at this time. If I said your name correctly. Blair Wessing.
My name is Blair Wessinger. I have two children that are in 4th grade and kindergarten, and I'm also a graduate of the class of 2002 at Lower Richland High School. I would like to take this moment of your time to have y'all please consider allowing parents back into the schools. As a very involved parent and a class mom for the past 5 years, and the daughter of a retired Richland One employee, I have seen how much it benefits the teacher and staff to have extra set of hands when needed. Parent volunteers are needed even more now than ever. Teachers are under more stress than ever, and the help would make a world of difference. Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much, Ms. Wessinger.
Mm-hmm.
Next, we have Allie Mood.
Hello.
Hi.
Of the 80 school districts in this state, only 13 are demanding our children still be masked all day. Despite what Commissioner Clyburn jokingly stated last board meeting, there are children in this district suffering because of this mandate.
Before you continue, we ask that you refrain from identifying employees and staff of the district.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Okay. Despite what a board member jokingly stated last meeting, there are children in this district suffering because of this mandate. It may not be your children or your friends' children, but your job is to protect and serve all children. And there are children whom you are failing to serve. Under your policy regarding face masks, which has not been edited since March of 2021, you stated, requests for exceptions under this policy for health or developmental conditions or religious exemptions will be considered by the superintendent or his designee, who may request documentation justifying the exception. You, the board, and superintendent have failed to provide families with a means to get exceptions. Our district, unlike other districts in the state, has not provided protocol, procedure, or forms for families that need accommodations. Families have sought exemptions in order to meet the medical and developmental needs of their children and have received crickets, literal silence. We have had to make our own forms, which were denied without explanation. We have had to beg our principals and you, Dr. Witherspoon, I can't say names, for help and guidance on what you may need in order to accommodate the children in this district with speech and developmental delays, anxiety, depression, ADHD, panic attacks, IEPs, hearing impairments, and other needs. What we have received in response is blanketed emails with a copy and paste of your policies or simply a reply as such. Good afternoon, the next board meeting is scheduled for February 22nd, 2022, end quote. A group of parents in this district spent time and energy putting together an affidavit for a request for exemption, which was turned down. So now we are gathering additional information in the hopes that it will be what you want to see. This is absurd. We need clear-cut direction from you. This should not be a game of cat and mouse. We need to know what you need to see from us. I spent 2 hours on the phone just this morning asking for a neurologist to write me a note for my daughter, knowing that you may not even look at it. Every day that passes is another day our children are not being accommodated. Mr. Devine, at last board meeting, you stated that you stated that you and the district have worked with families that need accommodations, and you will continue to do so. Not my family and not some of the other families here tonight. So no, Richland One School Board, you are not.
Thank you so much for attending, Ms. Moore. I apologize, but no applause. This is not a performance. This is a meeting. Ms. Moore, thank you so very much for being here tonight. We certainly. Next person on the list is Mr. Bridgers. Ms. Moore, if you would please be so kind to be seated, or we will have you removed from the meeting. We're trying to conduct this in an orderly fashion, and to all of the participants, trust me and believe me when I tell you, the board wants to hear your concerns, but we don't need a show. Come to us, express your concerns. That's why we're here, to hear you, I promise you. We're on the same side. It's for all children, I promise you. Let's work together. And the last thing I would want to do is have to remove anyone from this meeting. That's not who we are as a district. Come to us with your concerns. We hear you. We're going to respond back to you in an orderly manner. Next, we have Miss Gina Bridgers.
Good evening, Commissioners.
Good evening.
I'm here tonight to express my concern that parents still do not have the choice as to whether to mask our children or not. First, I would like to offer that I do not view teachers, administrators, or you, our board, as the enemy. I know you're in a tough position, and I pray for your safety and that God will give you the wisdom and grant and help your decision making. Masking should be a personal choice that a family makes in the best interest of their child. While I would like to have my 3 children unmasked and enjoying their school and their friends, I am also in favor of other parents doing what's best for their children, including continuing to wear their masks. With almost 2 years worth of metrics, it is clear to the average American that masks and isolation cannot stop the spread of this disease, and other mitigation measures just aren't garnering meaningful results. As we look around the country and the world, we must face these realities. Masks do not prevent spread of disease. They do, however, prevent proper educational, social, and emotional development. In fact, last Friday, the CDC, which I'm sure you're aware, released 2 reports on the health and well-being of children and adolescents in which they saw a marked increase for children ages 5 through 17 related to behavioral health concerns, mental health conditions, and eating disorders, to name a few. Children are in a very low-risk category for any serious side effects from COVID. Kids all across this nation have been unmasked and in school full-time without taking the measures that we are. And further, we go to the grocery store, we go to sporting events, we go everywhere else besides school unmasked if we so choose. I think it's politics and virtues signaling at this point to still have to wear a mask in school. Currently, per the Richland 1 COVID dashboard, we have 62 students with an active infection. Out of 22,038 students, that is a 0.28% of the student population, less than 1%. DHEC just announced that they will no longer report daily case counts as of March 15th. However, they will continue to report hospitalizations and deaths due to COVID, which they now state are the most accurate indicators of disease severity and the impact of COVID-19. My questions for the board are these. Please outline the specific parameters as to when parents will be given the option to mask or not mask our children. Since DHEC says the hospitalizations and deaths are the most accurate indicators, I'd like to see the percentage for Richland 1 tied to this metric. Please outline the specific instructions for parents with religious and or medical objections and students with breathing problems or other...
Thank you so much, Ms. Bridges, for attending on tonight. At this time, Ms. Bridgers. Next, we have Ashley Williams. I'll wait because I'm going to be respectful. Next, we have Ashley Williams. Ms. Williams.
Good evening. I'm the mother of 3 Richland 1 children and also the daughter of a former Richland 1 school teacher. My children are aged 7, 9, and 11. All 3 of my children have struggled over the past 2 years with the pandemic and mask wearing. However, my youngest daughter has suffered the most. There was a direct correlation between masks being implemented in the schools from 7:30 to 2:30 and her anxiety featuring trichotillomania, which is eyelash pulling, and her learning delays required tutoring, countless hours of vision therapy, and having to repeat a school year. Her mask exemption in affidavit form was denied, and just today she was sent home with a form to test her vision and hearing again. My oldest daughter was seen 3 times in a matter of 2 weeks earlier this year at her pediatrician's office for anxiety centered around not wanting to kill her friends by possibly exposing them to the virus. My middle child has also become apathetic concerning school, and we have seen a decline in his school grades and effort, as well as perioral and perinasal skin breakdown due to mask wearing. And I know I'm not alone and that I'm very blessed because a new CDC report shows ER visits in children have increased significantly for firearm injuries, self-harm, drug poisoning, all compared to pre-pandemic levels, including doubling for eating disorder visits. I was met with a tremendous amount of resistance when I went to the school level for pursuing mask exemptions, as well as when I went to the board level. A former FDA Commissioner, Scott Gottlieb, stated recently, the first thing we should do is try to relax the restrictions in schools. He goes on to say, we need to lean in and remove these things as circumstances improve as aggressively as we put them in place. The CDC has silently lowered the early childhood speech milestones. DHEC is closing testing sites and stopping daily case reporting. Today, the DHEC even released a statement recognizing that COVID was endemic and that we needed to move towards living with COVID with minimal disruptions to include suspending test and stay or quarantining. The city of Columbia continues to have no mask mandate. The cumulative mortality in 46 states shows children were 0 to 0.23% of all COVID deaths, and 3 states have reported 0 child deaths. And finally, some food for thought, literally and metaphorically. South Carolina received over $2 billion in the ARP for elementary and secondary school emergency relief funds. Richland 1 was awarded $78 million in local educational agencies under this plan. The Richland 1 blocked vendor transactions between 2015 and 2021 included, but were not limited to, dry cleaners, restaurants, car washes, caterers, motion picture theaters, bowling alleys, and antique shops in an excess of $332,000. And all meanwhile, 0 of these funds were allocated to improve indoor air quality for the children. Further, the South Carolina School Boards Association Conference was held this weekend with beautiful crystal clear photos of attendees enjoying.
Thank you, Ms. Williams, for attending on tonight. Next, we have Mr. Adam Jordan.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Good evening.
I'm the father of 2 AC Flora High School students, and I'm here today to encourage you to transition to a mask optional policy immediately, not in mid-April. I have good news to share. Vaccines are widely available in South Carolina for ages 5 and up. In the higher education world, Coastal Carolina recently dropped their mask mandate altogether. At Clemson, the vast majority of campus, including classrooms, are now mask optional. Here at USC, they've reduced their masking requirements. Their alert level is now green. It is the, quote, new normal, and they say, quote, is consistent with a shift from a pandemic to endemic operations of our campus. Locally, Heathwood Hall, Hammond, St. Joe's, Ben Lippen. One objection I've heard is that we're a large district. Good news, Fulton County in Atlanta is now mask optional. What about other states? In Illinois, 700 of the 850 districts are mask optional. North Carolina, majority of the districts are mask optional. New Jersey Governor Phil Murphy recently lifted the statewide mask mandate in schools. Same in Connecticut, Delaware, Massachusetts, Michigan, Oregon. More good news from DHEC. As was said earlier, they will stop reporting daily COVID-19 case counts. And DHEC, quote, no longer strongly recommends universal mask mandates in school, end quote. What is happening globally? The European CDC no longer recommends masks for children under the age of 12. Now, I've heard members of this board say their children feel like they're safer wearing masks. And the great aspect of a mask optional policy is that they can continue to wear those as long as they and their parents deem appropriate. I think you should be empowered to make that decision for your children, and I think I should be empowered to make that decision for my children. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Jordan. Again, the board will not respond. Next, we'll have David Oberly.
Hello, board. First thing I'd like to do, ask you real quick, think of something that makes you happy, whether it's your children, your spouse, whatever, just for a few seconds. Okay, hopefully I put a smile on everybody's face. Okay. I wanted to talk about a couple things tonight, and first of all is purchase cards. I heard some discussion about this, I believe it was the last board meeting, and it really troubled me as a taxpayer. I have 2 children. I don't send them to this district. I send them to a different district for various reasons. And but I do, like I said, I pay taxes here. I've been paying taxes for 23 years in this district. So hearing the purchases that are being done with these cards and everything really troubled me. And it should trouble you, because I imagine you're all taxpayers here too. And to hear it be kind of dismissed as, well, we'll look at it for the next 12, 18 months. That didn't sound very urgent to me. $2,100 for a hotel bill? Are you kidding me? Hundreds of dollars for food on December 31st. That's a holiday. That's a New Year's Eve. A lot of stuff in schools happens on December 31st, I imagine. So yes, as a taxpayer, that really troubled me. And on the mask issue, we teach our children to think critically. Let's think critically. We have a county next door, doesn't require them. When you look at the trend graphs over this whole time, and you pick any point in time you want to do it, if you think that mask mandates are helping, you would see a difference in the graph. The patterns are virtually the same. I've done graphs for both counties and scaled them for population to make them fair. You couldn't tell which one was Lexington and which one was Richland. You couldn't look at it and say, oh, I can tell this is definitely Richland because we have a mask mandate. You can't see that. And as someone spoke out before, for 14 years, I coordinated a program through my employer called Lunch Buddies with one of the elementary schools. I'm not allowed to name names, but it was one of the elementary schools, where we went into the schools twice a month and partnered with a child and mentored them. That was an invaluable program, I'll tell you what. That really made a lot of difference in a lot of kids' lives. So when people can't go to schools and do stuff like that, you're hurting the students that you say you're here for. So I playfully ask you to consider ending the mask mandate now. Let volunteers come to schools, let parents come to schools, and help these teachers out. Teachers are doing a great job. Thank you.
Again, thank you. Next we'll have Mr. Jeff Griffin.
Good evening. My name is Jeff Griffin. I'm the dad of 3 daughters, one of whom is at AC Flora. She's a senior this year. She has dealt with masks and COVID, as all these other kids, for basically her whole high school career. I urge you to consider making the mask mandate optional. I would add my voice to what's been spoken already. I appreciate you guys listening tonight. It is important what we're saying here, and there's probably some anger, some frustration. As parents, we're feeling a little bit helpless as far as what we can do as far as sending our kids to public school in masks. Just as was spoken a second ago, there is no discernible difference between a school district that puts a mask mandate in place versus one that does not. The chart and the graphs, the COVID cases spike and then they go back down. It's universal across countries, school districts, cities, municipalities. So I urge you to announce that masks will be made optional at schools. If parents want to send their kids to school with a mask, that's great and that's fine. Vaccines and therapeutics are widely available. We need to move on from the pandemic phase to the endemic phase of COVID. We're all tired of it, and I know y'all are tired of it. We urge you, strongly urge you, to consider lifting the mask mandate. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Next we have Patrick Petraeus.
Good evening, Madam Chairwoman, Board, Commissioners. I'm going to be the odd person out here. First, I want to start by thanking you all. The board, from board members to Dr. Witherspoon and the administrators, to the teachers and staff members at schools, you have been faced with an amazing challenge over the last 2 years. 2 years ago, I came to the meeting in March of 2020 when you decided to close the schools. I'm here today again, and the world has changed a lot. But I want to offer a different perspective from many of the other people here. And that is, you have a responsibility to everyone in your schools, the health and well-being of all your students. District 1 has many students who are immunocompromised. There are many teachers who are immunocompromised. There are family members of teachers and students who are immunocompromised. We owe them, the district owes them, the chance to protect them to the greatest degree possible. The COVID pandemic is not over. There are still many kids in our schools who cannot get vaccines. There are 3-year-olds and 4-year-olds in our schools. They cannot be vaccinated. We need to protect them. This is not a simple decision, and it is not an easy decision. But I would encourage you to do exactly what you have been doing as stewards to our district and the students and families thereof. Be deliberate and listen to the experts. People here have quoted statistics, but they're wrong. I can tell you I surveyed a number of districts today. And what I can tell you is that the district here, our numbers are significantly different than other districts that that do not mandate masks. In Richland 1, as of today, year to date, 2020 to 2021, our numbers are 124 positives per 1,000 students. In Horry County, that number is 199. In Clover County, that number is 214. In Oconee County, that number is 228. There is no doubt in my mind, and I can show you the evidence, and will happily provide it, that the district's
30 seconds.
numbers are significantly better than the districts around us and in the rest of the state. So I encourage you to follow the experts. The American Academy of Pediatrics still suggests that masks be universally worn in schools. The CDC still says masks should be worn in schools. Please follow the experts and not the people who don't know better. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Petraeus. Next, we will have, again, we're going to ask that you, security, if you will come to the front of the auditorium, please. This is not a dog and pony show. This is a very important decision that we have to make as board members. And we need to hear from all sides. Will you please allow us to hear from all sides? Now, everyone is set patiently and quiet and listen to everyone speak, and we owe Mr. Petraeus the same respect. Again, this is a meeting for us to do the official business of the school district. And I ask you that you allow us the opportunity to do our jobs. Next, we have Ms. Regina Williams.
Good evening. It's really good to be able to see the folk that I communicate with on Facebook and see all of these, all of my peers. I would like to follow Mr. Petraeus and thank you all. Thank you for keeping our children and our teachers safe. I followed what was happening in our surrounding districts. District 1 did not have to close due to a high incidence of COVID cases. We did not have to close because of a large number of teachers who were out due to COVID. And I want to thank you. Now, if I were a parent, would I feel that way? I don't know. So I have to respect what our parents are saying. But I also know that our children didn't miss school. Our children didn't miss school. Our parents were able to go to work. And I want to thank you again. And then I want to ask you, some of the money that's coming, can you please think about putting some community after school programs for the children and then working with the people who are in the community, working with the children so that whatever strategies they use in school, they will have the same matching strategies in the neighborhood during the tutoring of the after school programs. And the last thing, while we're talking about everything else, I want to see data of how our children are improving. They're in school now consistently. Now it's time for us to see the data of how they're growing. That's what we should be concerned with now after 2.5 to 3 years of inconsistency. Thank you.
Again, Ms. Williams, we thank you for being here on tonight. We won't respond. Lastly, we have for in-person, Abby Wiley.
Hello. I didn't prepare anything. I just wanted to come and show my support that I've got twin boys that are in first grade in Richland 1 School District. One of them seems to be doing fine with the series of online learning and things that they've gone through. The other one is absolutely not. He is not a kid that can understand those things. He's not a kid that does well, not being able to understand what people are saying. Both of my children are having some real problems with speech. They're twins. They already have their own strange language that only I can understand when they're talking about me usually. But I do know that they're getting behind farther and farther and farther. I do think masks have something to do with it. I really would like for people to consider a sooner vote than talking about it in April. It would be really wonderful to consider that in the next 10 to 15 days, as y'all had stated at the beginning, you'll be making all decisions. If maybe we could encourage a sooner decision regarding optional masks. If someone wants to wear 4, wonderful for them, if that makes them feel comfortable. But it'd be wonderful to be considered to not have to have our kids wear them all the time. Thank you.
Again, Ms. Wiley, thank you, and the board will not respond on tonight. We will respond to you in 7 to 10 business days. This does close out in-person comments. At this time, we will yield to our executive assistant, Ms. Wilson, who will continue our comments. Ms. Wilson.
Chairwoman Harris, we have 4 virtual submissions for tonight. The first is Mr. Rich Horton. Dear Commissioners, the board should respond publicly to the public participation comments and questions presented. Responding privately via email deprives other families the answers to the questions and topics that interest them also. If responses can't be rendered in real time, the board should post its responses once it is able. Thank you. The second one is Ms. Caroline Ray. School is a place where children learn math, literature, science, social studies, and arts. We don't always consider it's also a place where children become social beings. They begin reading emotions and facial expressions, responding to nonverbal cues, and developing speech and language skills. Masking out children not only impacts their learning, but most critically hinders their development. I'm here before you to simply ask that you make masking a choice for parents. Elizabeth Thabo, I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. Please allow parents to have mask choice. Richland 1 is the only school district in the area to still require students to wear masks all times, even outdoors. CDC continues to relax guidelines, and all children over 5 have had the opportunity to be fully vaccinated. Thank you. The last, Melanie Trimble. I would like to thank you very much for standing strong for those of us who are immunocompromised or otherwise disabled and at much greater risk of a COVID ICU visit than others, despite being vaccinated and boosted. We take every possible precaution in our households, those of us with a child with cystic fibrosis, a sibling with heart damage, a parent with a kidney transplant, a grandparent enduring chemotherapy. We still don't eat in restaurants. We still do curbside. We still wear masks, KN95s or higher wherever we go. We aren't participating in a lot of extracurricular activities, going to concerts or festivals. The one remaining normalcy in our teenagers and children's lives is in-person schooling with masks. I know there are people who feel the masks are interfering with their child's growth. A parent or sibling's hospitalization and possible death interferes with a child's growth as well. Private schools abound and are proud to point out how well they are doing. They are free to deny interest to children with any type of disability, and I'm glad they are an option for those whose children are unhappy with cloth on their face. Please don't take away the only disability-friendly public school in-person option for our children. The siblings and children of those with severe illness have enough worry and stress. Thank you so much for maintaining this last simple precaution that seems to be safely allowing them to participate in real life. Please keep it in place for the rest of the year. Thank you, thank you, thank you. That concludes the virtual submissions, Chairwoman Harris.
Thank you so very much, Ms. Wilson, for that. And again, to all of our participants, again, we will respond to you in 7 to 10 business days. Next, we will move forward to 7, which is our consent agenda. We'll read that in. And if there's no objection from the board, we can take this all as one vote. 7.1 is our minutes from February 8th. 7.2 is our January 2022 financials. 7.3 is a contract extension to provide refrigerated and non-refrigerated equipment repair and maintenance services. 7.4 is a contract extension hosted web-based communication solutions. 7.5 is a contract extension for indefinite delivery, indefinite quantity IDIQ contracts for construction. 7.6 is a contract extension for tree maintenance services. 7.7 is a contract extension for indefinite delivery, indefinite quantity IDIQ contracts for roof maintenance and repair services. And 7.8 is a contract extension for indefinite delivery, indefinite quantity IDIQ landscape maintenance. What's the pleasure of the board?
Move for approval.
Second.
It's been moved by Commissioner Bishop. It's been seconded by Commissioner Devine. We will now open the floor for any questions or comments on any of the said items. Seeing none, hearing none, we will call for the vote. Let the record reflect that the vote is unanimous. The items, as previously stated in our consent agenda, has been approved. Thank you so much. We'll move now to 8, which is the Office of Operations. And if there is no objection from the board, we will read all these items in. If there are any questions, we'll open the floor afterwards. 8.1 is a contract for furniture and furniture consulting services. 8.2 is a contract for public announcement and bell replacement project. 8.3 is a contract for automotive technology student toolkits, and 8.4 is an energy management report. That report is separate, right, Dr. Woodsburg? That's going to be presented. Guys, I apologize. 8.1 through 8.3, please disregard 8.4. 3 items have been read in. What's the pleasure of the board?
Move for approval.
Second.
Been moved by Commissioner Myers, second by Commissioner Devine. We'll now open the floor for any questions or comments on the 3 items that were stated. Commissioner Lomanak.
Thanks, Chairwoman Harris. I've got a couple questions, starting with 8.02, which is the public announcement and bell replacement project.
Okay, Ms. Alden. Mr. Leslie. Okay.
Yes, good afternoon.
Sorry, it's hard to see you, and it's hard to see me.
Sorry.
I mainly wanted to talk about the process. This looks like we want to use ESSER 3, the American Rescue Plan dollars.
That is correct.
Usually with federal money, we use it and get reimbursed, right?
In this particular case, we were approved for the funds and received the funding, so they're paying for it up front.
Okay, so that's what I was going to ask. So has this particular use been approved with the ESSER funds?
Only get reimbursed.
Can you turn up Mr. Carlin's mic? Thank you.
We have been approved, but we do the work and then get reimbursed.
But with the pre-approval, so there's no chance. I mean, I guess the reason I was asking is this looked like it was a little outside the allowable use categories, and I just wanted to make sure that it's been approved so we won't get dinged on the back end.
That's correct. We had it approved.
Okay, and Mr. Leslie, is this almost every school in the district?
It is every school in the district.
Okay, and are the current what's going on with the current systems that make them in need of replacement?
Well, the current systems were installed in the late 90s. They have reached the point of where they can't be maintained any longer. At some of the schools, they've gone completely non-functional, and we can't find parts to repair them anymore, or the expertise who knows how to repair them anymore. So therefore, they're well past their life expectancy and overdue for being replaced.
And I assume that the intercom systems are, in addition to, you need them to make announcements, it's a safety issue too, is that right?
Yes, sir, that's correct.
Okay. That's all the questions I have about 8.02. I did have one about 8.03, but I'll
Okay,
yield.
continue.
Okay. The automotive technology student toolkits, maybe I'm not smart enough to just figure out what they are based on the memo. Can somebody just describe what these are?
Is that Kate? Okay.
Ms. Jennings.
Mr. Diggins.
Mr. Dickens, there he is.
Good evening. My name is Chris Dinkin, CTE Director. The automotive technology toolkits are Snap-on toolkits, fully assembled kits with the tools inserted. We have 4 of those kits right now. We're replacing those 4. The tools are basically worn out, and then we're adding 2 more to that as well. And I'm not sure if you're familiar with the Snap-on. That's a tall, probably somewhere in the neighborhood of 4.5 to 5 feet tall toolkit assembly with all of the foam inserts so that tools are quickly identified if they're not where they're stored to be.
Okay, thanks. I just wanted to make sure I knew what it was. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Are there any other questions or comments on any of the items? Okay, we'll call for the vote. Let the record reflect the vote is unanimous. All the said items previously listed under Office of Operations have been approved. At this time, we'll move to 8.4, to our Energy Management Report by Mr. Raymond Perkins.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Madam Chair, members of the board, Dr. Witherspoon. I want to thank you for giving us the opportunity to share with you this annual report that we provide. Tonight we have the South Carolina Energy Manager of the Year, Miles Hanley, here to present, and we also have the Snyder Project Manager, Mr. Justin Shutt, here with us to answer questions if you have any. Okay.
Thank you so much. And as Mr. Hanley is coming forward, if we would give him a round of applause, because I think you didn't hear, he's the South Carolina Energy Manager of the Year. And before he begins his report, it just goes to show the great things that are happening in Richland 1. Mr. Hanley, you have the floor. Good evening.
Thank you. Good evening, Chairwoman, Board, Superintendent. I'd like to thank you for allowing me to present the energy report for the 2020-2021 school year. This is going to be my focus for this presentation. We're going to look at challenges that we have when it comes to energy conservation, saving our utility, reducing our utility budget, what factors impact our energy usage throughout the district, and of course, things that we did to save energy for the 2020-2021 school year. And of course, future opportunities. What do we plan on doing in the future as far as energy conservation and saving our utility funds? Technology usage increase, as you know, as we increase the usage of technology in schools, that's going to impact the energy that we use. It's just nature of the beast. And that's something that we have to continue to monitor and continue to do what we can to mitigate the usage of energy. Weather variations, we've all heard about global warming. And some may say, well, global warming might mean that in the wintertime we don't use as much energy because buildings are warmer. Well, in South Carolina, sometimes it requires us to use air conditioning in the wintertime. So weather variations continues to be an issue that we have to deal with. Summer and athletic usage increases. To be honest, because of COVID, that has not been as much of a challenge as it has been in the past, but we still see that as being a challenge in the future, using our facilities in the summer and when school is closed. Environmental standard mandates. Whenever we replace HVAC equipment, we have to bring our standards up to the latest fresh air requirements. For example, if you bring in increased fresh air in the wintertime, you have to heat that air. If you bring in fresh air in the summertime, you have to cool that air. That requires energy, it requires cost, so it's something that we have to look at. And of course, carbon footprint. We hear that word used quite a bit. As citizens of this state, we want to do our best to reduce our carbon footprint, reduce our usage of fossil fuels, because as we know, it's good for the environment. And although that is not our main charge, it is something that we as a school district would want to do. And of course, there's budget constraints. We are a school district. As a school district, our main focus should be to educate students. And sometimes when you do that, other ancillary things, such as saving money and energy, kind of falls to the wayside a little bit. So those are challenges that we have to deal with. But we are doing what we can. What factors impact our energy usage? Well, COVID-19, and not in the way you might think. Because of the fact when COVID first struck, we went to hybrid learning, we went to virtual learning. Actually, we use less energy in our buildings because of COVID. So, although COVID's not a good thing as far as energy conservation, it did impact our energy in a positive way because we use less energy. COVID also impacted our typical building construction program. Because of less construction, less energy was used by contractors who were doing work in our buildings. But as we know now, we're getting back to normal, so those things are going to be different. And of course, I mentioned global warming before. That does impact our energy usage, and we do what we can to meet that challenge. Projects impacting energy savings. Although we use less energy due to COVID, we still implemented projects throughout the district to make sure that our energy costs and utility costs are lowered. So these are some of the projects we did the last few years that impacted our usage. Haywood Conference Center, which is used quite often by the district, we replaced the T8 fluorescent lighting with LED lighting. Since that is a venue that's used quite a bit, that's going to give us some savings. SAB lighting controls. In our HR area and in our finance areas, those are areas that often work out of hours. So it would make sense to put in controlled lighting that we can control so we can monitor how much lighting we use out of hours and during hours. So that was a project we did. Modest savings, but it was a saving nonetheless. And what you're going to find out with a lot of energy measures projects is that one project is not going to save you a whole lot of money, but it's the accumulation of these projects all working together to get you savings. Arden Elementary, we replaced the entire school from T8 to T12 fluorescent lighting. We converted it to LED lighting. We also implemented lighting controls. That's a substantial savings at that school. The big project we did, the last really large project that we did in-house, the administrative buildings LED lighting project. For those of you who are in administrative buildings, you would have noticed that we replaced the lights in all of our administrative buildings. That will be CSF, where I sit, SAB, Line Street, Waverly, and the motor pool. We converted all those facilities to LED lighting at a substantial savings to the district. But that was a large project, and that's one of the projects that contribute to the savings that we've had recently. And of course, the Snyder performance contract. Although that project is not completed, some of the measures that we've implemented to date have started accumulating savings. And I'm going to talk about that project in a little bit more detail. I mentioned the Snyder performance contract. I'm not going to go over all of the details, all of the numbers, but that project was done at 15 of our schools. And if you can see the green, I know you'll probably see it a little bit better. As of December of 2021, between December of 2020 and December of 2021, although the energy measures have not been fully implemented, we at this time have already saved about $250,000. So If you look to the right of that graph, you see that the straight line at the beginning, where that straight line starts of, I think it's around October of 2022, that's when Snyder anticipated the project finishing, and that's when the quote-unquote clock starts on that performance contract. What do I mean by that? That's when the guarantee savings kick in. If they don't save us the money that they said they would, they have to cut us the check. We don't know about that. But if you notice, that graph starts at around $100,000 when they feel that the savings would be that first month, but we're already at $250,000. So we are saving more at this point in time than when they anticipated when the projects are finished. So that shows that the project has really been effective. Savings to date on the performance contract. Now, what I don't show on that graph was the savings that we received from the voice over IP, the new phone system that's been implemented. To date, that savings is about $200,000 plus. Now, I say plus because with that, the $200,000 in savings comes from contracts, maintenance contracts that we no longer had to that we didn't have to renew because of the new voice over IP system. What that does not show is the month-to-month savings that we're getting from those phone systems. And the reason we haven't been able to calculate that to date is because we still have some phone lines with AT&T that we have to flesh out. Once that's all completed, then we'll be able to figure out what we are saving month to month. So that $200,000 is really a conservative figure. We're saving a lot more money on the voice over IP. So if we combine the savings from the voice over IP with the savings to date on the energy measures from the performance contract, we've saved to date approximately $450,591. Now, what's going to amaze you about that is when you look at the next few charts, the next chart after this one. But before we get to that, as you know, the board has allowed us to add a solar component to that phase one. And when we combine, when the project is finally finished, and it goes out to 20 years, Snyder has said they guarantee that we will get a savings in phase one of $27.7 million over the life of that project. If you combine the solar savings, it's $29.3 million. Overall, we expect to see a savings of $57.1 million. Now, as I said earlier, those figures are conservative. We expect to see higher, but those are the guarantees that they've given us. And I think we're well on our way. Solar, it's a big thing. We see the solar panels on people's roofs. We are very aggressive in implementing solar in our schools, implementing renewable energy. That's part of the solar project. We are implementing solar at those 15 schools. This is just to give you an idea, those of you who haven't been out to the schools, at St. Andrews Middle School, one of the few schools where we have panels in place already, as well as inverters. You can see the picture, the first picture shows the what's going to the ballast that holds the solar panels in place. The next one shows the panels on top of that ballast. So it's the third picture. And then the last one shows the inverters. The inverters are the item that takes that DC current that's produced by the solar energy and converts it into alternating current. So, and this will be happening at all 15 schools in varying degrees, depending on how much energy we will be generating via solar. The status of the performance contract as of February 4th, 2022, when I put this slide together, as you see, we are only 100% complete in two of the energy measures. That's the plug loads and the building envelope, where we seal up the building tight. All the other ones are at varying degrees of completion, and we have already gotten to $250,000 in savings. So I expect that to go up as those other energy measures get to 100% completion. And many of you have seen this slide before. This is just what we expect the impact from the performance contract. Prior to phase one of the performance contract, at those 15 schools, we were spending about $4.4 million a year on our utilities. Post phase one, we expect to spend about $3.3 million. And that, when I say post phase one, I'm talking about not counting the solar. When you throw the solar piece in, then we expect to save some $2.2 million, $2.4 $2.4 million in energy. In cost per year over the life of that 20-year project. So we expect this is going to be a win-win for the district. Now getting back to our electrical costs over the last year, what you're going to see is in 2019 to 2020 school year, we spent $7.5 million. And in electrical costs for the 2020-2021 was about $7.5 million. So it appears to be flat. So one may say, well, did we really save any energy? Did we really save any dollars? But if you really look at the 2019, if you think about 2019-2020, that was a COVID year. That was a year where we had a major impact when we went to virtual learning and hybrid learning for a good portion of the year. Yet, we did not increase, we basically stayed flat. Why did we stay flat when the 2020-2021 was basically a full year? Because of the energy measures that we've implemented. Those measures are having an impact. And you can see the impact a lot clearer if you look at the budget. Administration in 2018-2019 put $11 million for the budget for the year, utility budget, but the actual usage was only, I'm trying to see that, 8.2, thank you, 8.2 million. 2019 to 2020, they said because they saw what we were doing was working, they lowered the utility budget to 10 million, and it was 7.7. Now that was a COVID year, and then the following year it was also about 7.7 million. But because of the success we've been having with our energy measures and combined with the performance contract, the administration decided to lower the utility budget to 9 million. We'll see what that will be at the end of the year. I anticipate that being even lower than the 9 million for sure. So we are doing well. We're doing well. We're saving money. We're saving the district money. So what are the opportunities for improvement? Well, because the Snyder project is doing so well, we are going to recommend that we go with the phase 2 with the Snyder project. It would not be fair for the other schools to not benefit from the infrastructure improvements, from the energy savings that these 15 schools that are in the performance contract are getting at this point in time. So we will recommend that, and we're working on that now. We are also looking at possible renewable energy projects. We as a district, we are citizens of this state. We want to be responsible citizens of that state. And being a responsible citizen means not contributing to gases that impact our ozone layer, making sure that we produce energy that's safe, we produce energy that is healthy. And so we are going to continue to look at renewable projects, other solar projects, and other renewable things as the years go on. So we're not stopping with the 15 schools that we did. We're looking at other ways that we can implement renewable energy in our district. And one of the things that I think is going to make a really huge impact, as the chairman for the energy conservation team for the district, I've charged the team to look at ways we can impact behavioral changes in the district. Now, what do I mean by behavioral changes? We can get the administration, we can get teachers, and we can get students all thinking energy conservation, turning out lights, pulling out plugs, things of that nature, things which may not seem like it makes a big deal, but if you get the entire district thinking that way, that's going to impact your energy costs as well. So the energy conservation team is working on a way on how we can get that out to the schools and get that out to administration, getting everyone to think energy conservation. If you can impact behavioral changes, that's going to make a large impact on the utility bill. So that's it. So if you have any questions, I'll take them at this time.
Okay. Ms. Miles, first of all, thank you for that awesome presentation, not only in recognizing you for being a state awardee, but also knowing that you're saving this district such a great deal of money. And we appreciate that. I think a lot of times folk don't realize that we got to stay on top of a whole lot of stuff. So to hear a report come to us and that says we're saving millions of dollars a year of our taxpayers' money, and even knowing that, Dr. Witherspoon, I believe our district is one of very few here in the state of South Carolina is really going towards solar when it comes to our schools. So I salute Raymond Perkins and his entire shop for bringing this project to the district and seeing the benefit of it, even though it isn't fully implemented. You know, we're saving money, so we can only imagine what it's going to look like, Commissioner Devine, once it's completed. So thank you so very much for your report on the night. Very thorough with helping us understand the power of, as you stated earlier. I went to school the other day before I could walk out the classroom, the lights shut off. And the kids told me that there was some kind of special gadget we have in place that if there's no motion in the room, it kind of signals the system to shut it down. So again, lots of nuts, bolts, moving parts in running a school district, but just to see that really made me feel good as a board member that we take a strong, hard stance in when it comes to saving the taxpayer money. I really appreciate that. I'm going to open the floor right now to my colleagues for any comments or questions that they may have on our energy management report that's been given to us. Clyburn, good? All right, on this side, Commissioner Devine.
Thank you, Chairwoman Harris. Thank you for this report, and congratulations to you as well. Appreciate the work that you do across our district and then across the state. Just a few questions, and these are really just follow-up questions from our initial approval of this project back in 2020 or 2019. I think it may be answered, but you talked about the status as of February the 4th, the energy measure, and the percentage complete. Is there an overall completion of installation of the infrastructure in this phase 1 project? If we're at 50%?
Yes, it was phase 1, and phase 1 is made up of a number of energy measures. We're doing lighting, we're doing HVAC, we're doing water. We did the envelope, we did plug loads, we're doing transformers, replacing inefficient transformers, efficient ones. So all of those measures together, we're at those percentages I showed of completion. That's where we're at this point. Only 2 of them were at 100%. That was the building envelope and the plug loads.
Okay.
The other ones are not.
Very good. Not sure if this would go to you or to teaching and learning, but how have we incorporated our students in these energy saving strategies?
I'm going to let Justin answer that, but in my last conversation, the last meeting I had with this, we do meet bi-weekly, they are getting ready to present the curriculum to the district. So I'm letting him touch on that.
Before Justin starts speaking, let's congratulate Justin. He got married 2 weeks ago, I believe. Congratulations. I didn't expect to see you tonight.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Good evening, members of the board. It's great to be here with you. That was an excellent question. I appreciate that question, Chairman Devine. I actually just this morning submitted to Dr. Broussard the full curriculum, so she's in the process of going through that right now. And what that is a solar curriculum that we have packaged together with the solar panels. So it's going to turn those 15 schools into active live learning labs for the students to be able to measure and look at real-time energy savings as it's being generated on the roofs of the schools that they're learning in. And there's 10 different learning activities and a number of different lessons in there where they're going to learn about how the energy is actually converted from the sun all the way to the outlet in the classroom. So it's a very comprehensive lesson plan, and that's just one of the components that we're working with as a part of the energy management curriculum.
Very good. I look forward to hearing that once we get that in place, and look forward to the success of that. I have another question. Well, that was the other question. Do we have a course or curriculum? Will we also expand to recycling also as a component of this, or will we just strictly stay with the energy savings component? And that may again be a staff, Dr. Witherspoon or Dr. Broussard. That may be a staff question. Will we have an opportunity to expand this energy management or energy savings into another component? And I know we do some recycling. I'm not sure how that comes into effect here.
A good part of our work in teaching and learning is looking at things like the curriculum that's been provided by Snyder Electric this afternoon, and the many lesson plans and so forth that we get from other sources, such as recycling companies. We get information all the time, and so what we always do is look at the materials that we receive and see where they fit into our curriculum so that we are supporting the existing curriculum and not just adding on. So our science consultants are currently vetting that material. I sent it out earlier today, so they are currently reviewing that. We already have recycling, though, as a part of our curriculum.
All right, very good. And then My last question is, as we look towards the future and we look into phase 2, I know you mentioned just a little bit of it. Just tell me again, or tell us again, when do we anticipate hearing about phase 2? Just approximate. You don't have to be exact. Maybe just approximate timeline.
Actually, we just started our discussions about phase 2. We want to investigate it, put together the right information so we can bring that to you. So it's something that we're in the process of doing on the staff level right now.
Okay, very good. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Absolutely. Any other questions or comments? Commissioner Myers?
I had a question about phase 2, but if the planning process probably not that far yet. Do y'all estimate how long it could take for phase 2 to be finished yet? Not quite. Okay.
We haven't even got to that point.
Okay. All right, any other questions? All right, seeing none here, and thank you so very much again for the report. We look forward to you all coming back to us with whatever plans it is that you have for phase 2. Phase 1 is doing as well, so we're anxiously anticipating phase 2 coming before us. All right, we'll move forward at this time. That was information, so no action is necessary. We will now move forward to Office of Human Resources, which is 9.1, which is a personnel HR update. Dr. Long.
Madam Chair, Board of Commissioners, and Dr. Witherspoon, good evening. The personnel human resource updates were provided for you all during executive session as information. I'll answer any questions if you all have any.
Okay, this is an information item. Floor is open for any questions or comments. Seeing none, hearing none, we'll move on to 9.2, leave of absence. Dr. Long.
The administration recommends approval for the leave of absence without pay for the employee with the initials EB. The administration so recommends.
You've heard the recommendation of the administration. What's the pleasure of the board?
Move for approval.
Second.
It's been moved by Commissioner Myers, second by Commissioner Devine. We'll open the floor for any questions and comments. Seeing none, hearing none, we will call for the vote. Vote is unanimous. The ayes have it. The leave of absence has been approved as previously stated. We'll now move to 9.3, which is the hiring of personnel. Dr. Long.
The administration recommends hiring the teachers on the attached list for the 2021 and the 2021-22 and the 2022-23 academic years. There are 2 listed for the 21-22 year and 6 for the 22-23 year. The administration so recommends.
You've heard the recommendation of the administration. What's the pleasure of the board?
Move for approval.
Second.
Moved by Commissioner Myers, second by Commissioner Devine. We'll now open the floor for any questions or comments. Seeing none, hearing none, we will call for the vote. Let the record reflect the vote is unanimous. The ayes have it. The hiring of personnel has been approved. And 9.4, former employee personnel matter. Dr. Long, will Mr. Chair Matthew Hazel.
Regarding a personnel matter with further investigation, the administration will provide additional information.
Okay, this is an information item. Floor is open for any question or comment. Seeing none, hearing none, we will move forward to the office of the board. 10.1, parent request to be heard. Ms. Miniweather.
Board of School Commissioners, Dr. Witherspoon, the hearing office recommends that the board not hear the 2 appeals that the parent was presented to the board during executive session. The administration so recommends.
Okay, you've heard the recommendation of the administration. What's the pleasure of the board?
Move for approval.
Second.
It's been moved by Commissioner Myers, second by Commissioner Clyburn. For point of clarification, a yes vote would uphold the request of the hearing board. A no vote would grant the parent request to be heard by the board. Just want to clarify that before you all take the vote. Did I state that correctly? Yes, I did. Point of clarification, a yes vote, their motion is for us to approve not hearing.
That's
So
right.
if we vote yes, that means we're agreeing not to hear it. If we vote no, that means we are agreeing to hear it. I just want to clarify the vote, because once we vote, it's voted. Okay? We open the floor at this time for any question or comments. Commissioner Devine.
Not a comment, point of clarification.
Okay,
A yes vote would be to uphold the recommendation of the administration.
that is correct.
If it does not pass, it just died. It doesn't happen. Now then somebody come out with a positive motion to hear the matter.
That is correct.
Okay. All right. So let me make sure I'm good. Okay. All right.
Are
Thank
you making a motion?
No, no, ma'am. No, ma'am. No, ma'am.
So in other words, if we vote no, then we will hear the matter. They're asking us to deny the request.
It needs to be in the affirmative.
Yeah, that's right.
Right, so there would have to be a secondary motion.
Correct, that's right.
Absolutely. Everybody straight on that? I know it got a little tangled and mangled, Mr. Lomanet.
Wait, I thought I understood it. A no vote means we would hear.
No.
Okay, so we just changed that. Okay.
Right.
So
If
you would have
we-
to
if we-
stating it in the affirmative.
Right, right, would have to be, right, okay. So everybody good before we call for the vote?
Yes, ma'am. Yes,
Everybody,
ma'am.
okay, let's call for the vote. Okay. Okay, it's a 3-3 vote. Motion failed.
Right. Motion fails.
Okay, motion failed.
Right.
All right, Mr. Devine.
Madam Chair, I move that we hear the parent request to be heard.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved by Commissioner Devine that the Board of Commissioners hear the parents' request to be heard. It's been properly seconded by Reverend Dr. Aaron R.E. Bishop.
You say it twice if you want to.
Okay, we'll open the floor at this time for any questions or comments. Seeing none, hearing none, we will take this vote manually. We can take it electronically. Okay, Ms. Evelyn worked it out on the screen. We will now call for the vote.
Clarification. So that
A yes vote
Yes.
would be for us to hear, and a no vote would be for us not to hear.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Yes, sir. Okay, the ayes have it. We have 5 yeas and 1 nay. The motion passed. We will hear the parents' request to be heard. Thank you so much, Ms. Penwell.
Thank you.
Next, we have 10.2, which is the board report. This is an opportunity for the board to speak on non-agenda items or whatever that they've been involved in throughout the school weeks prior to coming to the meeting. Now, the board does participate in chat with the chairs at our middle schools as well as our high schools on a regular basis. We are in